or if they're just interested in me, like sometimes on dating apps, people ask about my podcast. They can just listen to my first episode and see if they can stand me or not.
Is that why you started your podcast, really?
Yeah, I just started it, and it's not working well, so I keep going, but I'm still not dating anyone. So what about, well, maybe that first episode's a killer, right? I don't know.
Maybe.
But what about you? What would you say to people?
Yeah, I had a good think about this question as well, and I'm similar to you in that we have guests who have different experiences. So I might say to someone who's a poet, go and listen to this one, or I might say to someone who has maybe resonated with me of an experience, whether a traumatic experience or something in the past, I say you might find help from this episode, especially from that point of view of the happy ending, that it's always something that is worked through somehow. So I definitely wouldn't say go to the first one. I definitely wouldn't say the first one is my best. I definitely wouldn't say it was my worst either, actually. Other than maybe audio quality, the content is always good in all of them.
Yes.
Of course.
We love all of them equally.
Yes. Yeah, speaking of, it's fairly easy to do. That's not to say it's not really easy. It does take up time. You should be willing to put time into it. But if you wanted to inspire podcast listeners to try podcasting for themselves, for their own creativity as a creative outlet, is there any specific advice you might give?
Yeah, so first of all, find a subject you're passionate about, and if you think other people will find it boring, don't worry about that. Then they're not your listeners. Just because a niche podcast can actually get you more listeners than you would think, because maybe not a lot of people are talking about that subject. And also just kind of be patient with like numbers and how many listeners you have, because a lot of people are lying about their numbers is the bottom line. Like, because I did research on it, and people would tell me how they had so many listeners, and then my podcast was ranking higher, and I was like, feeling bad about my numbers. And so I think it's just something that you should just be patient with and know the listeners will come, and your goal really needs to be communicating a message. I think that's what our goal is. I think that's a helpful goal to have. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I think it's helpful to have some purpose outside of just getting a bunch of listeners. There's a thing called pod fade that happens really quickly to people, where they put out a couple episodes and they just fade away. So try to think of your first 10 episodes or something and plan ahead so you know what you're going to be talking about. Otherwise, it's hard to put something out every week, and you don't have to put something out every week. So it's just kind of, I guess my advice, if it was going to be short, would just find something you're interested in talking about, find people to talk about it with, and just have a goal of just making the podcast, and don't make these other crazy goals that don't even make sense, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, there are people have their different reasons that they say for starting a podcast, and some people might say they want to make money from it. Sorry, shouldn't be laughing at that. That should definitely not be your first reason.
I did it to spend more money.
So what?
I did it so I could spend money, because that's all I've been doing on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. You need the subject matter that you're interested. I completely agree about the numbers. I completely agree about your niche, if that's what you want to talk about. And don't go at it as if, when you're looking at numbers, and like you say, don't compare to other people, and know that, if 10 people are hearing what you're saying, then that is of value to those 10 people, obviously, and it could be more or less than that. I was going to say, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, flippity gibbet.
One thing I was going to say is like, it doesn't have to be weekly too.
Yes, you did mention that. Yeah, no.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, that's okay, because I do agree with that. Also, don't listen too much to advice.
Yeah, I mean, people like to just talk, give advice. What do they know?
What do they know? What? I think they can tell you how to do things.
I mean, they didn't ask for my advice, you did. That's a big difference.
And now I've got to come up with my own advice. Don't listen to people's advice. No, one thing is, don't take it too seriously. Take it with a pinch of salt and take it how you want to. So you did briefly mention you don't have to do it weekly. People will say you have to be consistent, you have to do this. I mean, you and I both have random seasons, don't
Yeah.
we, of random numbers of
Yes.
episodes.
We do. Actually, yeah, because I told you that. I said, my season, I don't know why. Now this one, I hit episode 20 of this season. I'm doing a couple more because I need a break in a couple weeks. I don't need a break this week.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so don't get bogged down by that advice that lots of people will give you, that it has to be regular, it has to be this, you need to be getting this many downloads, blah, 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 blah. Do it for your enjoyment. And one of the most important benefits, actually, that we've both found is the amount of people that we've got to meet, both through our guests, through our listeners, through the podcast community that we keep banging on about. But there are so many people I can call friends out there now. I didn't think I was a very sociable person, but turns out I am. Turns out I really like talking to people, and it makes me really happy, and it makes them happy, and that is, I think, the best part of it for me.
Yeah, I think I'm an introvert for sure, and it took me a while to realize that, because I always thought I was an extrovert, but I'm an introvert. But I like to have more one-on-one conversations, and so podcasting lets me do that. And also, you're right, just meeting different guests and hearing their stories, and kind of, it's changed my story a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I've been more open to things that I might not have been interested in, and also the whole sharing information. I mean, even doing this, it doesn't benefit you to keep it all to yourself, whatever it is. And I think podcasting is a way to do that, express your ideas, but also if you have a guest that you want to share their ideas too. But that's pretty fun.
Absolutely brilliant. Right, how are we going to finish?
Okay.
Didn't plan that, did I?
I don't know what else. I mean,
Okay.
You could ask what our favorite podcasts are if you want, or...
Forget the podcast community. I'm not giving anybody else any adverts.
No, totally.
Okay, I'm just going to wing something.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's been an absolutely thoroughly enjoyable chat, Rabiah. I'm so glad you came here with me today. So glad you agreed to be my guest on this special episode. And it's been really exciting to be here at the podcast show. There's a particularly good episode of More Than Work Pod. See, that's what we should have said when we said which one would you start with. I mean, obviously, for Creativity Found, I'd tell everybody to start with the Rabiah Coon episode.
Oh, you're right. I was silly. I said start with, it's just the narcissism, isn't it? Start with the episode where I talk about myself. I should send even the dates to hear your episode.
I might get a date.
Yeah, if people want to hear a really good episode of my podcast, it's when I'm talking to Claire.
Yeah, and if people want to listen to a really good episode of my podcast, it's when I'm talking to Rabiah.
But not this one. It's the other.
Oh, yeah, the other one. And there's another one that we're going to put on as well, because I'm going to put your More Than Work one on, and you're going to put my Creativity Found
we're going to feed drop. So you won't have to go anywhere, really.
Yeah, if you can't get enough of the Rabiah and Claire show. So thank you very much for listening. This has been an absolute joy. It's been lovely to be here at the podcast show. It's been lovely to be in a proper studio. Thank you very much to Shure for giving us the opportunity. And I'm now going to wave at a technical man to come and do the technical things and turn everything off. Thank you as well, Rabiah.
Thank you.